My entitled son got a PS5 for Christmas from my ex and he hid it from my new stepkids. So I demanded he give it to his 6 step siblings. He sulked and refused to bring it to my house, then sold the console, so I grounded him. I took my stepkids to my ex's house to take away all my son's belongings for my stepkids as punishment. Now I'm regretting it. I 45am have a 15-year-old son from my previous marriage. His mom and I split when he was a toddler. And we've been on a 50/50 THS custody schedule for years. Now a week on, week off setup. No drama with the schedule, but there's been tension between households for a long time. I've been remarried for 6 years to my current wife. She has 6 kids from past relationships. Yeah, 6. All living with us full-time. Their fathers aren't in the picture for various reasons. I stepped up because they needed stability, and I wasn't about to let her drown alone in that mess. It hasn't been easy, especially financially. But we've managed. Now, here's the thing. My son's mom makes decent money. She's got 1 kid, no other responsibilities. Her job is solid, and there are no other mouths to feed. So, obviously, she can afford a little more than we can. Fine. But lately, she's been splurging on my son in a way I think is unfair and frankly divisive. Let's rewind a bit. This isn't the first time she's tried to turn our son into the special one with gifts and extras that the other kids don't get. A couple of years back, she bought him a MacBook for school. When I asked her to give me a heads up first, she said it wasn't my business how she spends her money. That's her go-to line. He's my son too. I can buy him what I want. Okay. But it's not just about the money. It's about what that does in a blended household. It creates resentment. It draws a line. My son doesn't seem to see the issue. He walks around here acting like a guest at a hotel when he's at my place. Headphones in 24/7. Never plays with the other kids. Barely talks to them unless I force some kind of interaction. And if I ask him to pitch in or share something, he acts like I'm asking him to donate a kidney. He treats his step-siblings like they're strangers on the street. Hell, I've had to tell him not to lock his door while he's gaming just to make sure he's not hiding stuff or sneaking off for hours. Now, fast forward to Christmas. His mom buys him a brand new PS5, the expensive one, with the disk drive, extra controllers, everything. I didn't find out from him. He never said a word. I only found out because I glanced at his phone while he was asleep on the couch. Yeah. I looked through some texts. Sue me. I'm a parent. If I see my kid withdrawing, I want to know what's going on. Turns out he and his little group of friends have been spending entire weekends gaming at his mom's house, planning tournaments, swapping games, and staying up all night. I saw messages like, "Can't wait to hop on the PS5 this weekend." And my dad would lose it if he knew I had it. That one hit me sideways. I asked him about it the next morning. "Why didn't you tell me you got a PS5? He shrugs. Says, "It's at mom's house." Like, that ends the conversation. I asked him why he never thought to bring it here, especially since I know Dan's well. He takes his Switch and laptop back and forth. He just flat out says, "Because I don't want to share it." I said, "You're being selfish. It wouldn't kill you to let your step-siblings play for a bit." And boom, full-blown teenage meltdown. Arms folded, yelling, attitude, the works. He says, "They're not my siblings. I didn't even tell them about it. The only reason anyone knows is because you went through my phone." Like, that makes it better. Like, he wasn't hiding it intentionally. Let me be real here. These kids, he calls, not his siblings, live under the same roof as him half the time. They sit next to him at the dinner table. They share the bathroom with him. And yes, they get jealous. They know he gets more than they do. They may not say it every day, but I see it in their faces. My youngest stepson, 9, literally asked me last week, "Why does he get all the good stuff?" And what am I supposed to say? "Because your mom made bad choices and now we're broke." No. I try to teach all of them that family means sharing, pulling your weight, treating people with respect, not acting like a spoiled little prince, just because mommy has more money. So I told my son you're bringing that PS5 next time. We'll set up a gaming day. Everyone gets a turn and maybe it'll help you bond with them instead of treating this place like a punishment camp. He laughed in my face, said, "No way. It's mine. Mom got it for me. I don't owe them anything." I lost my temper. I told him he was acting like an entitled brat and if he was going to treat this house like a second-class motel, then maybe he doesn't need to bring anything over next time. He called me controlling and said I was trying to punish him for having more, which is not the point at all. The point is you don't hide stuff from your parent and you don't rub luxuries in the faces of kids who have less. That's basic decency. And yeah, I called his mom. I told her, "This is exactly what I've been worried about. She's raising a selfish kid and I'm not going to stand by and let it slide." I asked her to back me up and maybe ground him or take the PS5 away for a week to send a message. She told me I was overreacting, that he didn't do anything wrong, and that I'm making this about my pride. No, I'm making it about our family. He's not a guest when he's here. He's part of this house. And part of being in a family is sharing what you have, even when it wasn't bought here. So, yeah, we fought big time. He went back to his mom's, still pissed. She hasn't returned my texts in 2 days, and I can feel her gearing up to set boundaries again, which usually means shielding him from any consequence. I'm not new to this. This is how it always goes. She plays the he's just a kid card, refuses to back me up, then sends him back next week with more of the same entitled attitude and a chip on his shoulder. And now I've got 6 other kids watching it all play out. Watching me bend over backwards for the one kid who gets new tech, new clothes, name brand sneakers, and expensive trips. All from a mom who thinks co-parenting means buying loyalty. How the hell am I supposed to keep this house from falling apart when every message they get is, "Don't bother trying"? If your parent had money, you'd matter more. And no, I'm not projecting. I know what projection looks like. This isn't that. This is about what's fair inside one household. Not just a custody agreement on paper. I'm talking about what goes on under this roof. When he's here, he's part of this family. And I'm sick of the double standard. His mom buys him high-end electronics, and then I'm supposed to pretend it's not a big deal when the other kids start asking why they're still playing Minecraft on an old Xbox 360. Why are they wearing off-brand shoes while he's got custom Nike Dunks? I've already made adjustments to try to avoid this kind of tension. I've asked him not to flaunt things, not to bring over brand new gear, unless it's something everyone can use. Hell, I told my wife's kids to be respectful and not make a scene about the fact that he gets more. But how long can I keep that up before resentment explodes? This PS5 thing was just the breaking point. If he had told me about it right away, maybe brought it over voluntarily and included his step-siblings, I'd have chalked it up as a win. I'd have said, hey, maybe he's learning to think of others. But instead, he hides it, laughs in my face when I bring it up, and acts like I've committed some crime for expecting him to share. And don't tell me to, just let him have his things. That's not how families work, at least not healthy ones. You don't get to live 2 lives, play 2 roles, and pretend one set of people doesn't exist. I'm not asking him to hand over the PS5 and walk away. I said, bring it, share it, let them all play. That's it. It's not a hostage situation. It's parenting. His mom says I'm being controlling. She says he's already feeling alienated and I'm making it worse. No, what's alienating is showing up to a house where 6 other kids are eating pasta 3 nights a week and saying, oh yeah, I've got a $600 console, but it's not for you guys. I don't care if that sounds harsh. Life is harsh. So yeah, I pushed her to punish him. Told her to take it away for a week or 2. Remind him that he's still a kid, not a 30-year-old with a condo and no responsibilities. She refused. She's siding with him completely. Said I'm the problem, said I overstep. She's decided the PS5 stays at her place. He doesn't bring it over. He gets to live his life uninterrupted. Great. Wonderful. Real teamwork. Now he's back this week. Quiet, short-tempered, and fully leaning into the cold shoulder. Not helping with anything. Doesn't talk at dinner. The other kids notice. So now I'm sitting here wondering if I'm the only one who sees how messed up this is. I didn't ask him to give the thing away. I didn't break it. I didn't scream at him or call him names. I asked for basic consideration in a shared household. I asked him to treat his step-siblings like humans. I expected cooperation. I got walls and silence. And yeah, I went through his phone. That's what parents do when they think something is off. If I hadn't, I'd still be getting lied to, watching him sneak back and forth like he's smuggling diamonds. I've got a house full of kids who already feel like second-class citizens compared to a kid with a mom who treats Amazon like a hobby. I step in, try to build something fair, and somehow I'm the monster. So you tell me, Ada comments. Comment one day, but not for the reason you think. You're a classic. My house, my rules, Dad. But you're pissed that your kid actually follows that logic. He didn't bring the PS5 to your house. He didn't show it off. He didn't brag. He stayed quiet. That's respecting your rules. But then you violated his privacy. You pulled the PS5 into the spotlight. And now you're punishing him for your own discomfort. You think you're teaching him family values. You're teaching him that fairness only applies when it benefits the majority. That anything he owns is community property. That his feelings, space, and comfort don't matter as long as it keeps the peace. That's a good way to raise a kid who grows up with 0 boundaries and a lot of quiet resentment. Also, stop pretending this is about character. If this were about life lessons, you'd model how to handle envy, not reinforce it. But what you actually modeled was, you have something I can't afford, so now it's a problem. Your son's not spoiled. He's protecting himself from you. And that should scare the hell out of you. Comment 2. Yeah, you don't want a son. You want a pawn to balance out your fragile ego and your overloaded household. You say you're teaching him fairness, but fairness isn't making a kid give up his personal property to 6 other kids he didn't choose to live with. That's socialism at gunpoint, not parenting. You claim his mom's splurging is the issue. No, The issue is you're broke and resentful and you want to spread that misery evenly across your house. Let's call it what it is. You resent that he has something that makes your other kids jealous. Instead of dealing with that, you decide it's easier to guilt and punish him for daring to have something nice. That's disgusting. Also, you talk about how your stepson's asking why your bio kid gets the good stuff. Okay, honest question. What do you say when your son asks why you're prioritizing 6 kids he shares zero DNA or connection with over him? You didn't blend a family, man. You threw him into a different tribe and made him feel like a colonizer just for existing. You made this house toxic. And now you want Reddit to tell you you're a good dad for trying to equalize a system your own decisions created. Wild comment 3. NTA. And I'm going to be the unpopular opinion here because I grew up in a house like yours, blended, broke, and boiling with tension. Your son is being short-sighted. No one's saying he has to hand over the damn PS5 and walk away. But bringing it over for a couple of hours, letting his step-siblings play once in a while, that's basic decency. You don't have to love someone to not act like an elitist. He's got a lot of attitude for a kid who spends half his time benefiting from a system where he's the only one getting spoiled. Also, the Reddit crowd always jumps on the it's his gift train. But they forget what it means to live in a real household where jealousy and division matter. You can't raise one kid like a tech god and expect the other 6 not to notice. You're not perfect. You fumbled the delivery, but you're not wrong for trying to hold the line. His mom is using her money to sidestep parenting, and you're the one stuck holding the social fallout. That's real SHT. Don't listen to the people acting like this as some kind of oppression. It's parenting under pressure. You're trying. Update. Well, things blew the hell up is a better way to put it. After that fight and my son leaving in a huff to his mom's house, I expected some tension. What I didn't expect was what I found out this week. He sold his Nintendo Switch. Not traded, not given to a friend. Sold it. Posted it on his social media story. Writing something like, "Not going to share this either. Don't worry. When I tell you I lost it, I couldn't believe it." He'd rather dump his own stuff for a few bucks than let his step-siblings touch it. Let me be clear, none of the kids asked him to give up his Switch. No one was hounding him. He took it as some personal war against sharing and decided to burn the bridge. I was furious and honestly heartbroken, too. It wasn't about the damn console. It was the principle that he could have chosen to do something decent. Even just offered it to one of the younger ones. But no, he made it a public display. A big F you to the idea of ever considering anyone else in this house. That's when I decided we weren't going to just sit here while he acts like he lives in a separate world. I got my wife and the kids in the car and we went to his mom's house. I wanted to speak to her face to face to show her what this was doing. To make it clear that this can't go on. I knocked. She answered, not even opening the door fully. Just a crack. I told her flat out, we came to get what's fair. If our son doesn't want his stuff and doesn't care who has it, then he can put it to use for the people who actually live in a real household with him, not the ones who pop in and out for video games and sleepovers. If he's willing to throw it away before sharing it, then fine, we'll take what's left. She slammed the door harder, told me I was harassing her, that if I didn't leave immediately, she was calling the cops. I told her this is about our son. This is about values. She laughed in my face and told me I don't get to lecture about values when I'm dragging 6 kids onto her porch to strong arm her. I looked down and one of my stepsons, the 10-year-old, was trying to peek through the crack. Curious, maybe trying to walk inside. I don't know. She shouted for him to back off. I grabbed his arm and told him, no, don't cross that line. Not here. Not like this. We left. Nothing resolved. Nothing gained. And of course, when I texted my son later that night, asking him if this is really the hill he wants to die on, he left me on read. The next day, he posted pictures of him and his friends eating pizza and playing the PS5. Caption, good vibes only. I'm not a dramatic person, but this level of cruelty, it cuts. He knows exactly what he's doing. It's not just disrespect, it's calculated, smug, and full of venom. And no matter what the internet tells me about, it's his property. The bigger truth is this. My son is sabotaging his own future. He thinks his friends are going to be there for him in 10 years. When he's struggling with a job or needs to move out or hits a wall in life, they'll disappear the second he's not the one with the console and the snacks. But his stepbros, his half-family, we'd be here. If he actually tried, even a little, he'd see there's a good kid in that group. The oldest one, Jaden. He looks up to my son, watches his YouTube clips, mimics his gaming style. All he wanted was a chance to play on the same system and ask for tips. That kid cried when he saw the Switch was gone. He thought he'd get a chance to try it one day. Instead, he got used as a punchline. And I keep hearing the same argument from everyone. Your son didn't sign up for this. Guess what? Neither did I. I didn't ask for 6 kids and a blended family and a constant war between houses. I stepped up because I had to, not because it was easy. And now I'm watching my son throw away every bridge he has, and for what? To protect a piece of plastic. This isn't about electronics. This is about whether he understands what it means to be in a family. Whether he values people over possessions, whether he can grow the hell up and realize the world doesn't revolve around who bought what. Since then, his mom has gone nuclear. She filed for a custody change and says he won't be returning to my house until a judge signs off on a new structure. She says I'm emotionally manipulative and that the kids feel unsafe when I'm upset. He's been gone 3 weeks now. Won't answer texts. Won't return calls. His mom blocked me on social media. I'm still standing by what I said. He needs consequences. He needs reality checks. If she wants to let him float around on a cloud of do whatever you want, freedom, then fine. But don't expect me to pretend he's not burning everything behind him. I still want him to come back. Not because I need to win. Not because I want his PS5 or whatever else, but because he needs to understand. Family share. Brothers look out for each other. We don't sell what we could have used to lift someone else up. So now I'm here not asking if I'm the RC hole. I know how Reddit sees this. I'm asking how to get through to a teenage boy who thinks selfishness is strength. How do you teach someone like that what it means to bond, to share, to actually build relationships that matter? Because right now, all I see is a wall, and it's getting higher every day. Comments. Comment 1. Jesus Christ. You dragged 6 kids to your ex's door like some kind of discount mom squad to try to raid your son's stuff. Are you hearing yourself? You didn't just cross a line, you bulldozed through every boundary your son and ex ever tried to set. And then you're surprised she threatened to call the cops. I'd have called them the second I saw all those kids on my porch like you were about to perform some community redistribution ritual. Your son sold his console. That was a message. Yeah, but not the one you think. It wasn't spite. It was defense. He's trying to protect the only space in his life that's his. You didn't just ignore his boundaries. You've been steamrolling them for years and calling his friends useless. Really? The only people he chose. The only ones who haven't tried to turn him into a guilt sponge for 6 unrelated kids. That tells me everything. You don't want him to bond. You want him to blend in until he disappears. Uda. And if you don't back the hell off, you're going to lose your son for good. Comment 2. You're incredibly lucky your ex didn't actually call the cops because what you did could have been interpreted as custodial interference or worse, intimidation. Dragging 6 kids to your ex's house, demanding entry, and trying to take items that don't legally belong to you. That's insane. That's something people get arrested for when the neighbors have ring cameras. Your son's 15. He is legally old enough in a lot of jurisdictions to have his say in court about where he wants to live. And you just handed your ex a golden custody case wrapped in your own outburst. Forget sharing and bonding. You need a lawyer because you're about 2 meltdowns away from supervised visitation. And at this rate, your son would probably prefer that. Comment 3. You know what? No one's saying here that you completely torpedoed any chance those kids had at having a real relationship with your son. You turned them into weapons. You made them part of your punishment plan. Now those kids who already feel lesser, who already notice the difference, are going to carry this shame and rejection like it's their fault. Your son won't see them as people anymore. Just background noise in your war. I was one of those stepkids. I know that hollow feeling of being forced to be equal to someone who wants nothing to do with you. It's humiliating and it makes you resent everyone, your parent, the step-sibling, even yourself. You didn't just damage your son's bond with you. You screwed up 6 others too. And those kids don't deserve that fallout. Just because you couldn't accept that blending a family doesn't mean erasing the lines between them. Update. I said in my last update that my son hasn't contacted me. That's still true. What changed is what happened when I tried one last time to talk to him at his school. I didn't go inside and I didn't try to drag him home. I waited outside like any normal parent wanting 5 minutes of conversation. But when he saw me, he didn't even hesitate. He made a whole scene yelling at me across the parking lot, telling me not to touch him. Even though I hadn't moved a muscle, he drew attention on purpose. Staff ran over and security got involved. I didn't even get a full sentence out before they told me I had to leave or they'd escalated. He walked away with his backpack like nothing happened. Not a glance back. And that wasn't even the worst part. Later that same week, one of my stepsons, the oldest boy, 16, decided he wanted to help fix things. He's always been protective, always trying to be the peacekeeper in the house. He thought he could talk to my son brother to brother. I didn't send him, but he overheard me telling my partner, I have no idea what else to do. And he took it on himself. He went to the school during lunchtime, approached my son near the bike racks, and basically told him it wasn't fair to treat the whole family like garbage just because he was mad at me. My son shoved him hard, told him to get the F away and said he wasn't his brother and never would be. My stepson shoved back. Security pulled them apart. The whole thing lasted maybe 20 seconds, but it was enough to drag legal consequences in. The school called the cops because it was physical and off-campus boundaries were crossed. They had to file a report. Nothing huge at first, but enough to create a paper trail. And you better believe my ex used that like a gift-wrapped opportunity. Within 2 days, she filed an emergency motion for full custody, claiming my son was unsafe around my household and that the environment was hostile, coercive, and emotionally damaging. She brought up everything. The porch incident, me showing up at the school, the family dynamic, the financial stress, even crap that happened years ago that she twisted to fit her narrative. The physical altercation between the boys was the final nail. She argued my son was at risk because father's home is full of unsupervised minors who confront him physically. That's not what happened. Anyone with sense knows teenage boys scuffle. I grew up with 3 brothers. We fought every other week. That doesn't mean we were abused. It means we were boys. Testosterone, frustration, stupid pride. It happens. Ask any parent with sons. But the court didn't see it like that. The judge granted temporary full custody to my ex, effective immediately. No visitation until a hearing, and because she claimed my presence at the school caused panic, they put a no-contact stipulation in place until everything gets sorted. My son didn't even look at me during the Zoom hearing. He kept his eyes on the floor, and as soon as the call ended, my partner turned her anger straight at me and said I was the reason her son got dragged into legal SHT and that if I hadn't poked the bear, none of this would have happened. She said I put pressure on the kids, made them feel like they had to step in because dad can't handle his own child. She said I embarrassed her and put our entire house at risk of more investigations. She's not wrong about the legal mess, but blaming me for her son stepping into something he shouldn't have touched. No, he wanted to defend the family. That's more than I can say for my own son. You know what really cut? She said, your son doesn't respect you because you don't demand respect, you demand ownership. I don't think that's true. But it hurt that she said it. Meanwhile, my son has doubled down on ignoring me. He blocked my number on everything. My ex requested communication go through her only. My partner's kids are confused, some scared, some mad. The oldest one now has school consequences and will probably end up in some conflict resolution program. He's angry because he felt he was standing up for family and ended up punished for it. Financially, we're underwater now. Lawyer fees, missed work, stepkid therapy sessions because the counselor recommended it. It's all hitting at once. I can barely keep the lights on as it is. I'm not drowning, but I'm ankle deep in water with rain coming down. And my son, he's out there living comfortably, gaming, laughing, eating better food than this house has seen in weeks, posting pictures of his new headphones. He even captioned one photo, "Peace is real when you cut toxins out." He got none of my traits, none of my strength, none of my loyalty. He turned into a version of his mother, stubborn, spiteful, smug, and thinking money solves everything. He's a disgrace to what a family should be. And yeah, I know that sounds harsh. I don't care. I've lost hope of getting him back. I know that now. Whatever bond we could have had, he burned it. He torched any chance of being part of a blended family. He chose isolation and convenience over responsibility. But I still don't understand one thing. And this is why I'm here again. How do you make a kid understand sharing, bonding, and supporting siblings when he's so committed to rejecting anything that isn't built around him? Because I don't get it. I don't get how a child can be so cold. I've done everything I can to make things equal. All I wanted was balance. All I wanted was respect between the kids. They're all good kids, except him. And now he's gone. Comments. Comment 1. It's wild how you still can't tell the difference between discipline and revenge. You didn't want to teach your son a lesson, you wanted him to feel humiliated. You used the step-siblings as a guilt tool, dragged 6 kids to a confrontation, and now you're shocked the system chose the kid who was getting cornered. Your kid didn't fail the family test. You did. You made your house into a battleground. You turned sharing into a power struggle. That Ps5 was just the first domino. And now you're sitting here acting like you're the victim because your son won't roll over. You didn't lose your son because he's cold. You lost him because he saw through the manipulation. And you can blame your ex, the courts, or your partner. But none of them showed up at his school like a threat. That was you, Uda. And you should probably stop worrying about what traits he got from you and ask yourself if maybe he's just reacting to what he learned by watching you. Comment 2. I have 4 kids. 2 by a 2-step blended families are hard. I get wanting balance, but you screwed it up the moment you made your son responsible for everyone else's happiness. What you call teaching family values looks a lot like forcing him to carry the emotional burden of your financial struggles. You say he lives comfortably. Yeah, because his mom didn't have 6 kids with different dads. That's not his fault. That's not a moral failing. That's just how life shook out. Your stepson getting into a fight. Your ex is filing for full custody. That's on you. Because instead of protecting your son's space in that house, you kept trying to shrink it until he had nothing left. Maybe stop obsessing over sibling bonding and start accepting that your son's not a missing puzzle piece in your perfect family portrait. He's a kid who didn't sign up for any of this. Comment 3. You keep talking about your ex like she's entitled and manipulative. But let's be clear, she didn't send a kid to corner your son at school. She didn't drag half a dozen kids to your door like a goddamn intimidation squad. That was you. You've somehow convinced yourself that if your son doesn't sacrifice every part of himself for your household, he's selfish. Meanwhile, you let another teenager attack him and still spin it like he's the one destroying the family. You built a house full of pressure cookers, and now you're shocked one of them exploded. You're not raising good kids. You're raising ticking clocks who think force equals family. That's not a unit. That's not a team. That's chaos. And your son, he saw it for what it is and ran like hell. Can't blame him. Second story. I left my job and went on a vacation after my company didn't give me the respect I deserved. Now they are desperate and begging me to return. Last week, I signed a contract with a new company, Nico. No specifics, but I work in tech and was headhunted for this new role. I made my online CV searchable, and within a couple of hours, I'd been contacted. They must have had an alert set up or something which is simultaneously flattering and a bit creepy. Anyway, my old company Old Co were going places, their words not mine, when I joined in 2022. The terms of my contract were clear: 3 years working solely on Project A, pretty straightforward. Unfortunately, the company had a silent partner, Sileno, who became increasingly less silent as time progressed. Project and not only required funding from Silence, but it also needed to run alongside multiple other projects both within Old Co and at some of Sileno's other subsidiary companies. I always manage my own projects, and being reliant on other projects in other companies wasn't just something that I hadn't been told about, it was something that I'd asked about and specifically been told that project I was unrelated. To say that I was disappointed when I found out that I'd been lied to would be an understatement, but I always consider myself a professional and try to behave accordingly. I still had the majority of my contract to run, was being well paid, and most importantly, I enjoyed my work. However, the bond of trust with Old Co had been irreparably broken. Old Co would shift timelines. Silent Co would delay funding. The project was overrunning by months, and the costs were increasing. Budgets were being allocated to Project A, then being withdrawn and redistributed to other projects. I would just do my part, getting everything done that I could, providing reports on where we were, why we needed other projects to be completed before we could move forward with Project A, and giving adjusted dates on when this could be achieved. These reports were pretty thorough and were sent every time something happened elsewhere that directly impacted Project A. Feedback was minimal. Occasionally, I'd get a thanks for the update, but mostly there was no response from Old Co or Solenco. Due to all the delays and removal of funding, Project A is nowhere near complete. But as I mentioned earlier, I signed a 3-year contract in 2022. That contract ended 2 days ago. Not one person from Old Company or Silent Company has been in contact regarding a new contract or an extension. Total silence. So 2 days ago, I went into the office, put my laptop and phone on the desk, wrote a generic thank you and goodbye letter to leave next to it, and walked out for good. There's a chance they think I'm on holiday. Contractors don't get paid leave, but I had mentioned to a few people that I and my girlfriend were off to somewhere warm in October, but it's not as if it was added to a work calendar or anything. So, who knows? My job with Nico starts in January, and I'm in the fortunate position of being able to afford a few months off. So I'm already looking forward to a Christmas and New Year completely absent of work or stress. Neither Old Co Solenco has been in touch yet, but presumably, they'll eventually realize I'm gone. My consultant rates are pretty reasonable. If they want me to do a proper handover, and I'll do it, as I have no issue with anyone outside management. Everyone else I dealt with was lovely. The clock is ticking though, and it will be done on my terms and at my convenience. Update at the bottom of the post, likely the same day. Update, bloody hell, didn't expect so many notifications. It's a throwaway account. BTW should have mentioned that. I saw someone had checked for botness, not a word. I'm literally off to the airport in half an hour, but I'll answer your questions. If no contract extension was offered or given, you didn't quit. You were let go. I said I'd left, not quit. These contracts are generally extended or an extension offered once it becomes obvious that the original time frame won't be met. In this instance, I suspect that either Old Co and Sileno both thought it was the other's responsibility and nothing was done. Or more likely, they're badly managed and it never occurred to them. Would sort of love to work for a company like this since it seems like you could get away with just about anything. Believe me, you wouldn't. It's incredibly frustrating. I just want to say this was well written, clear, and easy to follow. Thank you. There are so many confusing posts on Reddit and I was happy to see this one where it was clear what was happening. Thank you. My English teacher would be so proud. I would have negotiated an extension until project was done and then slacked off to the point they fired me. To be honest, once I'd been blatantly lied to initially, I had no interest in extending. Also wouldn't want a firing on my record. If I were leader at Old Company, I would be disappointed. Does OP have any concern about possible damage to reputation in the profession industry? If I were the cause of any of the delays, then professional pride would have possibly made me stay and clear my mess up. But that wasn't the case here. Co lied to get me on board, knowing that I wouldn't have joined if they'd been honest with me. I don't think they're in a position to be disappointed in me. You seem pretty organized, OP, so you've probably checked anyway. But does your contract have a silent auto-renewal clause? In the UK, for example, the end of a fixed-term contract can be deemed a dismissal, so certain processes should be followed for the contract to end. If they aren't, their contract may continue to be valid, especially if the employment surpasses the 2-year mark. All depends on the wording of the contract. The contract specified a fixed end date, no rolling month-to-month extension or anything like that. As I mentioned above, this is fairly standard, but it's on the company to offer an extension or renewal rather than on me to chase one. I'm curious about what constitutes a reasonable consultant rate. Me too, beach time. See you in a couple of weeks. Maybe they'll have noticed by then. If not, my ego will take a big hit. Update at the bottom of the post. Hello again. I returned from Madeira on Wednesday, all relaxed, perfectly serene, in an almost zen-like state. Then I opened my email. Obviously, I have email on my phone, but that's very much a personal device. My dedicated work email account had been gathering dust since I went away. When I'm on holiday, I'm on holiday. So I went straight to the old co/silence folder and started going through them. It all seemed to kick off the Friday after I left. I'd always send status reports every Friday, and me not doing so that week must have set a few alarm bells ringing. Old company asked me for the status report late that Friday, to which they'd have received my out-of-office reply, informing them that I was on holiday because I'm nice, but not specifying a return date because I'm not that nice. On the following Monday, Saleno got in touch, acknowledging that they'd screwed up and to please call us urgently upon your return. Not sure if the panic of their email was assumed or imagined, but it certainly felt like there was an air of desperation to it. About a dozen more emails were sent to me between Old Company and Zealand Company over the next week and a half, some of which you'd class as essentially begging letters. Honestly, their lack of dignity was almost embarrassing. I emailed both Old Company and Saleno yesterday, saying that I'd been away and had just seen their messages and would they like to set up a 3-way call later that day. You've never seen an online meeting arranged so quickly. The first thing they did was apologize for losing track of the contract situation. ICA paying zero attention to the contract situation and offered a new 3-year contract on slightly but not significantly better terms. As I mentioned in my original post, I have a new role already lined up, but I also wasn't interested in renewing with Old Casalino. They immediately offered far better terms, presumably under the impression that I was playing hardball, but I quickly shut that down and made the following proposal. I will do 50 hours maximum of consultancy in November. Dates and times are to be mutually agreed. I will receive full pay for the month of November at my previous rate. This will involve a full and thorough handover. Access to all documentation since day one. I kept everything. I'm not sure anyone else has, and agreeing on a new time frame for the completion of Project A. The above is on the proviso that they appoint someone who I can actually hand over to and that the data and projections from all the other project areas are made available. That's it really. They agreed to those terms and have actually been head hunting Tony, an old friend and former colleague of mine, to take over. So hopefully that all goes through. It turns out that my consultancy rates are about 3.5 times my usual rates, and I could have probably gone higher given the speed that they accepted my terms. Not the most exciting end to this tale, but I'm getting a nice little bonus out of it. Old Casalino get a full handover and a good replacement, and Project Ed itself will still probably never be completed. A couple of footnotes. I'd already prepped a full handover. I had no idea if someone was taking over when I initially left, so I'd completed one anyway. They didn't even ask me about it. Don't worry, Tony has been advised of what the management are like. Madeira is beautiful this time of year. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your